किसी का भी
Okay, this presentation is a little interesting. I'm talking about making cities sustainable for everyone. So who's going to click the slides? Okay, so I'm looking at cities in terms of being sustainable for everybody. Okay. Now, how do I know when it's going to go forward? Okay, next slide. See, there are 2 or 3 things I'm going to talk about today. The origins of our city designs, in my opinion, are wrong. We have a lot of classical city designs from Europe, royal designs. We also have a lot of American suburban designs, bungalow designs from UK and other places, which has affected the way we plan cities now. And the way we plan cities actually excludes a very large majority of the urban population, which is one of my concerns. If we've excluded between 60 and 70% of the population of India cannot afford the EMIs of any housing scheme in the major cities, it means they don't have a right to the city. And I think as young students, you should be concerned about that. Now, it doesn't mean they're all living in jhopatpatis, or what we call slums. They may be living in overcrowded urban villages, workers' housing in sheds, etc. So next. Who has a right to the city? Now, I like to always give this example. It's a study done by the Boston group of Bombay. The Boston group did a study. Go ahead.
Only 3% can afford the EMIs of a dwelling to the south of the international airport.
See the map? Only 3% of the 22 million people living in the metropolitan region of Bombay can afford the EMIs to buy anything in that small area down there.
Only 6% can afford the EMIs of a dwelling from Thane and Vashi to the airport.
So now we have 9%. And?
Next. Only 27% can afford. Only 36% have a right to the city.
So what we see here is if you add up the number of people in the entire metropolitan region who can afford the EMIs in any scheme that a developer or builder is doing, we're excluding a huge number of people. So who has a right to the city? Only 36% of the people. So, of course, this is debatable. There would be people who say, well, we see it differently, but I think this is an important thing to look at. 64% of them, I call this unsustainable. If you don't have a right to the city, if you don't have your own property, if you don't have your own shelter, that's another form of sustainability. And that means you have no interest in all the other types of sustainability we like to talk about, because if you're not a partner in the city, you won't give a damn for all these things. Okay, next.
Question 2. How are cities designed based on models which affect our thinking?
Okay, next.
This is the existing scenario in 1962 Delhi.
Then in came the Ford Foundation with American planners, and they did a plan for New Delhi, which really didn't look at the problems of the poor. Next. Now, this actually is interesting because on the upper left-hand side is a kind of a plan of Karlsruhe in Germany, where the palace was in the middle and radial roads went out from the palace into the rest of the city. This influenced Versailles, and of course Versailles and this influenced Washington, D.C. And if you look at the plan of New Delhi, I dare somebody to say that Washington, D.C.'s plan did not affect this plan. So there's kind of a history of models of capital plans and ruling cities, which really are irrelevant to the way we live. Now, you all know the Garden Cities movement. I think it was very important. But then I'm showing some pictures of things like Levittown, USA. Small cottages, automobile-dominated planning. Then I showed Chandigarh. You're going too fast. Go back one. the bill of revenue. Basically, what I'm saying is all of these models now affected the way we think and the way we plan. Even if I look at bill revenue by local museum, I just did a scheme in Pune called Pune Belmondo, which is a kind of a new town with some 30, 22-story apartment buildings in a garden. You know? And basically it's bill revenue, but it's not affordable to probably 90% of the people in Pune. So these models, in my opinion, are not really sustainable models. Next.
These type of plans can only accommodate 36% of our people. Where do the other 64% live?
No, I'm not saying these figures are exact. These are approximate, but this is the situation in our country.
This has resulted in unsustainable sprawl, Delhi.
Next.
Unsustainable living conditions, Mumbai.
Next.
Unsustainable economic disparity.
See, what the interesting picture here is the one in the lower left-hand corner, which I think is in Rio de Janeiro. Now, these wealthy people have balconies with swimming pools, no? And tennis courts. And it's not two pictures sliced together. This is a real situation. People with their swimming pools are overlooking a slum of illegal settlements in Rio de Janeiro. Okay?
Unsustainable congested traffic.
Okay.
Unsustainable pollution. Unsustainable exploitation of nature.
That picture was in Maharashtra.
Unsustainable access to shelter. Unsustainable futures.
So this is what we're thinking about all this.
Climate change is taking place. It was identified by the world community in 1972. On 5th of June at Stockholm, there was a conference where most of the countries were present. And they gave a call, rise now, there is no time, act now. That was the slogan at that time. 50 years have passed, nobody is active. We are there, we were. That is what the data shows. So, sustainable development goals have been set up by the world community, which say there is urgent need required to combat climate change and its impact. Extreme weather conditions such as heat wave, droughts, floods, tropical cyclones have aggravated the need for water management, pose a threat to food security, increase health risks, damage critical infrastructure, interrupt provision of basic civil services. Statistics need not be referred, are well known. Between 1880 to 2012, average global temperature increased by 0.85 degrees Celsius. Between 1901 to 2010, ocean expanded. Global average sea level has risen by 19 meters. Since 1990, global emissions of CO2 have increased by almost 50%. Between 2000 and 2010, emissions grew at a more rapid rate than each of the 3 decades preceding. This is the data mentioned in the latest Supreme Court judgment 2019-15 SCC page 401. So, I just now at this stage want to show to you a 1-minute film which was shown to the world community in COP26. What is COP? Conference of Parties. It is taking place every year since 1995, and now it was 28th COP recently held from 30th November to 12th December 2023 at Mumbai, which was 28th COP. Okay, 2 years back, 26th COP, a 1-minute film was generated showing the dinosaurs advising, because dinosaurs became extinct long back, so they advising against extinction. What do you do? Just see 1 minute. Please show that one. Well, they'll show you shortly. Now, this is the context, and presentation just now showed the reasons, 36% sustainability maximum. You can give EMI. What happens to 64%? How do you do? In Delhi, that means the situation is no different from Mumbai, which you have shown. The data may be slightly different, but by and large, the pattern in all major cities would be same, because some people will be living in planned areas, some people will be living in slums. So maybe the data, as you also said, it's approximately slightly different. So what do we do? What happens to 64% who can't afford EMI and are living, actually living, factually living? What happens to the environment? Regularization policy, etc., human angle, don't remove encroachment, where they live. Let us think of it. And how do we handle that situation? At the moment, of course, we are thinking of planning. And those 36% was given,